Hey everybody, we are back. Man, missed you guys. We was sort of kind of out for so many different reasons last month. Me being away, team being away, everybody just we never could align our schedules to where we could do what we need to do. But we're back, and it's a brand new month. It is August. We are 8 months into this year. Can you believe that? So, um, yeah, welcome back, man. I'm glad to see you guys. Glad to be back. Got some new things that we're going to talk about today. We got some stuff that I really, as you could see on the screen as you were waiting for me to come on. We were going to talk about activating your inner power, and that is saying a whole lot. So we've got some good information that we want to share with you. Um, Really good information that we want to share with you this week, and stuff that I have had to tap into for myself. I really try to make sure that I fully understand what I'm trying to get you guys to understand, and that I completely have what I'm trying to give you guys as it relates to the topic that we discussed. So, for the month of August, we're going to talk about activating that inner power. And I want to start by uh, getting rid of any doubt or any question as to whether or not you have an inner power. You do. You have an inner power that literally can be activated. The sad part is most of us fail to activate it. One, because we fail to realize that it's there. And two, activating that inner power sort of kind of puts you in a place of authority and puts you in a place of confidence. That inner power that we each come to this earth, this world with, is that God power. Everybody has a God power, whether or not you realize it. For those of you that are familiar in any way with the Bible, you know, Christ talks about the power that he has. He talks about activating that Christ consciousness. And he was like, you know, let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. You know, we want to think like Christ and do like Christ and have like Christ. And all of that is very, very attainable when you activate that Christ consciousness. So that Christ consciousness that's in each one of us is just a higher level of thinking. I don't know if you remember, several months ago, we talked about thinking up and being able to think above with our being responsive instead of reactive. We talked about that stuff several months ago. Most of us think down. We don't think up. We are more reactive than we are responsive. And when you think up, you activate that Christ consciousness that each one of us have within. And that is literally living from your subconscious thought, which is about your the word that I'm looking for. What is the word that I'm looking for? Your intuitiveness, your intuition. You're living by intuition. You're following the path of life that's laid out for you. When you think from your consciousness, it's more logic thinking. You don't try new things. You don't see new things. You don't do new things because it is all centered around whether or not you can logically make rhyme or reason of it. So, what I'm talking about today, being able to activate that inner power, means that you have to think up. It's that Christ consciousness that each one of us have. Being able to think above, that's positive thinking, seeing the good in everybody, living a life out of love. Everything that you do is centered around love. That is thinking up. That is being Christ consciousness. And it is when you activate that power, that life opens up for you. It becomes clearer. Things become clearer again. You're not reactionary, you're responsive. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying activate that inner power. The reason why most of us think that we don't have it is because we've been taught in our religious institutions, we've been taught that if you don't do everything morally good, or you've got to dot every I across every T, there is no way that you can have that Christ consciousness or that ability to think up. but you do. It's there. And the reason why you don't dot every I and cross every T and all this stuff is because we've yet to activate that inner power. There are several things that we're going to talk about over the course of this month that help you deal with and learning how to activate that inner power. And we're going to get more and more to it as the weeks go on. But, one of the things that I've learned through meditation, and I've learned this through meditation, and you can look it up. We all have 7 chakras, and it's literally our subconscious way of thinking that starts at the base of your vertebrae and literally goes to the very top of your head. And as you matriculate through your spiritual journey, you go into chakra number 1, then chakra 2, chakra 3, chakra 4. And it is these, as you climb that ladder of spirituality, your inner power becomes more and more prevalent. It becomes more and more powerful. And that's why Jesus was able to walk on water. That's why he was able to heal the sick and raise the dead, because those chakras, that inner power that he possessed, was activated. He knew how to use it. He had that spiritual connection with Source, with God. And, I know that it's available to all of us, because he even said, for those of you that put your confidence in the Bible, he even said, greater works than these shall you do, which means that you have even greater ability to create. You have even greater ability to walk on water, to do all of this stuff. And as you continue to activate that inner power, it puts you in a place of knowing. I talked this morning about the difference between believing and knowing. Anytime you believe something, if the right person comes along, that right person can alter your belief about anything, even the belief that you have about yourself. All it takes is for somebody to have confidence in, to say something negative about you, and all of your positivity, for most people, tend to just go down the drain. But when you know something, it's less likely that folk can change your perception, change your mind when you know something. And again, that is activating that inner power. When you get to a place that you know who you are, then there isn't a likelihood that anybody can take that away from you. Folk that don't know who they are, they have yet to activate that inner power, which means that they need affirmation from somebody, validation, information, all of that. And that's not the way that you want to live. Appreciate you guys joining me today, Catherine and Sonia. The rest of you, thank you so much for joining me. But yeah, we all have that inner power, and that inner power is what shows up outwardly as confidence, not conceit, not arrogance, but confidence. That inner power is what shows up as confidence. When you know what you know, that means that you've tried it, you've experienced it. And again, the likelihood of somebody coming to sway your mind, change your mind, alter your perceptions is more unlikely than likely, because you know. And that's what we got to get to. I want us to develop a mindset where we are courageous and brave enough to tap into that inner power. Again, referring to the Bible, Paul says that we have this treasure that's been put inside of us. That treasure is that inner power, that God consciousness, that Christ consciousness that allows you to be, to do, and to have whatever you desire. That's living life with that inner power. Thank y'all. It's that kind of inner power that we miss our life. And that's why we are up one day and down the next. That's why we're happy one day and sad the next. That's why we feel like we're on top of the mountain one day, and the next day we feel like the mountain is on top of us, because we've yet to tap into that inner power, that power of knowing, not feeling like, not thinking like, but knowing. Knowing who you are, knowing that you have within you the ability to do and to have and to be whoever it is you want to be. The sad reality is that we take the power that's within us, that we are supposed to use for us, and we willingly hand it over to other people. We do. And I bet you I could ask you or say to you, why do you keep giving your power away? And the first thing you're going to say, but I don't. I don't give my power away. I don't, but you do. You know how you give your power away? You give your power away by listening to people's opinions. You give your power away by needing folk to affirm whether or not you look good or you can do this or you can have this. You know, that's giving your power away. And so many times we literally give our power over to other people. And the sad reality is, most of the time, we give it to people we don't even like. You give it to your enemy. You give it to your enemy. You give that power over to people that you don't care about, that you don't really even know, that you don't even like, because all it takes is for that person, all that person is to say is that, oh, you make me sick. You ain't gonna never have anything. I don't know why you're even trying. You're not gonna be anybody. You're not gonna be able to do that. Why are you even thinking about going back to school at your age? That's unheard of. You're 50 something, you're 60 something, you're 70 something. That is unheard of. And when you buy into that, you literally give that power over. You give power over to them. And that ain't what you want to do. The moment that you take heed to what somebody says about you, to you, that don't line up with the vision that you have for yourself, it's almost like you're signing your power over to them. And you know, like I do, if you keep doing that, they keep taking it. And that's where your self-esteem goes down. That's where the way you view yourself goes down. All of this stuff, it just dwindles away. The more power you give away, you sit in a corner and you sulk. You spend your time being depressed and frustrated and worried and feeling unworthy. But you've given your power away. When you activate that inner power, you stand with confidence. And please understand something. Once you tap into this inner power, you got to understand that you may not be for everybody. Because the more power you activate, the more people that you have in your life on this lower level of activation, they start leaving. And we got to be okay with that, y'all. We got to be okay once you start activating this power and you start matriculating through this spiritual journey. The people that are in your corner right now, they're in your favorite five right now. Once you start working on this inner power, activating and cultivating this inner power, these people on this level, unless they are with you, then you're going to start losing them. What I encourage you to do, please do not forfeit your inner power just to hold on to some folk on that level. Please don't forfeit your inner power. Yeah, Pam, you're saying I'm starting to work on that. Yes, indeed. Denise said people say words don't hurt, and it don't matter what people say, but it don't matter what people say. But at the same time, you are soaking up the words that are saying. You're absolutely right. You know, we say that they don't hurt for the sake of face, but you know what we do, Denise? We go home and we think about it, and we play that over and over in our heads, over and over and over in our heads. Oh, I don't care what you say about me. You don't matter. I'm like, you know what, you don't matter. But then we don't let it go. If it really didn't matter what they said, then as soon as we said that, that whole scenario, that whole situation would just disappear. But it don't for 97% of the people. They play it over in their head. Do you know what you told? You got to call everybody. You know what so-and-so said about me? She said so-and-so. You know what so-and-so says that I gave up my, and what we do, which means that as you talk about it, the more you talk about it and the more you dwell on it, the more it takes root. And once that seed takes root, the next thing is you're going to start questioning yourself. Am I really a nobody? She said I wasn't nobody. And the moment you make one mistake, you bought into that. And that's what we do. Pam said yes, and even lose sleep. Yeah, thinking about what they say and how they make us feel. Absolutely. Sonia says, I am guilty of thinking that. You got to change that. You've got to change that mindset. Again, be okay with losing people. You know, it's almost like, if I can make a school reference, like when you're in first grade, you've got some kids that are going to go to second grade with you, and some are not. Some kids are going to go to this teacher, other kids are going to go to that teacher. So are you going to say, I don't want to go to second grade because if she's going to go to that teacher and I got to go to this teacher, let us just stay in the first forever. And that's my best friend, and I don't want to leave her behind. I want to be in her class all the time. And as you go from first grade to second grade, third grade, you're gonna start losing other people, you know, because there's a distribution of students. So it's not likely that you're going to be with the same person from first grade all the way to the 12th grade. But you got to be okay. Otherwise, you're going to forfeit matriculating through school, and you're going to say, I don't want to move grades because I might lose this person. We might change teachers. But let me ask you this. Aren't you going to gain other people who matriculate? You may lose some. The fact of the matter is you're going to gain some others, and they're good for you. They become your best friend for the second grade, but they may not be your best friend for the third grade or the fourth grade. Y'all may come back together at some point in the fifth grade. Like, yeah, you remember we used to be best friends in second grade? So you got to be okay with losing some people. At the same time, knowing that if I lose some, I'm going to gain some others, and they're going to have the same mindset as I am. You understand that? I need you to understand that, because as you activate that inner power more and more and more, there are going to be people that can't handle you, because activating that inner power gives you a confidence that you didn't ever have before. And some people cannot take that confidence. Some people cannot take that level of confidence, not because they can't have it too, but because they refuse to activate their inner power. I can be guilty of questioning myself about a lot of things that I do. Yeah, Catherine said that. So yeah, we do, but you've got to understand that when you activate that inner power, and we're going to talk more and more about that. I want to talk more and more about those chakras. Next week, I'm going to try to have something up on the screen so we can toggle. If not next week, maybe the next week. But I want to show you how we each have these chakras, spiritual levels that we reach the deeper we tap into that inner knowing of who we are. So I'm gonna leave that for that. Denise says, yes, life goes on and your surroundings and environment changes all that. It really does. The sad part about it is if you're not willing to change with it, that's when you get stuck. You get stuck in a timeline. You get stuck in a season. And the more you kick against the change, the less you become powerful, the less likely you are activating that inner power. And I want you guys to activate that inner power. The more you start getting to know yourself, when you start knowing your value, your worth, you know your triggers, you know what it takes for you to succeed, you know what you have. The more you get to know yourself, the more you get to know yourself, the more powerful you become, and the more effective you become for society. Chris, man, he says intellectual freedom. It does, because you don't need validation from anybody. You don't need validation from anybody, and that's intellectual freedom, because you've taken the time to get to know yourself. I said this morning too, it's hard. Everybody goes to church on Sunday morning thinking that they're going to get to know God for themselves. That's not where you get to know God. You don't get to know God in a crowd, no more than you got to know your husband, your wife, your lover, your spouse, your significant other. You don't get to know them when you're constantly around a crowd of people. It takes those intimate moments. It takes those times when nobody's around, when you don't have any distractions, when you're not bombarded with other stimuli. You're simply focused on one another. The same thing happens when you're trying to get to know God. Ironically, the same thing happens when you're trying to get to know yourself. When God is ready to separate you and it's time for you to start elevating yourself, we separate. We separate. That's not something for you to get depressed and worried about. That's something for you to admire, because during those times of separation, when you're by yourself, That's when you get to know who you are. You get to set boundaries. You get to set parameters. You get to set bars that if folk don't live up to a certain standard that you set, and that's determining your worth, your character, all of this stuff. If they don't live up to that, then they're not the people to be around you. If you don't ever take the time to get to know who you are and start tapping into that inner power, you don't know that. That's why people come in your life and they're hurting you. It's a pattern. And you don't know because you're still on the same cycle. I need you to get off the cycle. I need you to tap into that inner power that you have, knowing who you are, and being able to accept you for who you are. I tell you this, and then I'm going to stop for today. I tell you this, once you tap into that inner power of knowing who you are, you can look in the mirror and you will be able to say to yourself, these are my flaws. These are my faults. These are my weaknesses. And then, based off of the level of inner power that you have activated, you get to set yourself on a path of how to turn those weaknesses into strengths. You got it? It's you. You are doing this. You don't need anybody else. Nobody else is required. It's when you start activating that inner power, that means your life starts to change for the better. There's a different perspective, there's a different outlook, there's a different all of that. I promise you, tap into that inner power. We're going to talk more about this next week, okay? Y'all join me. Thank y'all so much. I really, really do appreciate you guys being back today. Missed you guys. Like I said before, I really, really missed you guys. But tap into that inner power and watch your life begin to transform. All right? Have some questions for me, have some thoughts for me, and I want you, for those of you that are willing, I want you to spend this week just in a moment of silence and self-reflection and tapping into that inner power. Tell yourself that you are amazing. Tell yourself you're worthy. Tell yourself that you are awesome. Tap into that wonderful, that power that's inside of you. Okay? And I want to hear about how your week went next Sunday when you get together. You guys have a beautiful rest of the day, and we'll talk again next Sunday, 2 o'clock. All right? Like and share. If this blessed you, guess what? There's somebody in your life that it will bless too. So don't forget to like and share. And you can go to YouTube and find this if you've got somebody that wants to do it. You don't have to do it on Facebook. You can literally go to YouTube. And most of our episodes are on YouTube as well. All right? You guys have the rest of the day. Great rest of the day. Talk to y'all soon.